Dr. Kimberly Lemke and ML Wahlfeldt are two esteemed speakers. They designed this program, and now they're talking about future collaborations, which, Nancy and I, smile about because that's the power of the Women's Forum. So we're excited for them for that as well. And for you today, and as I turn it over to them, I'd like them to at least first start out their conversation we're going to have today and really talk about this purposeful and rewarding work that they do. Like, can you each briefly share your journey to develop this expertise? And if there was an aha moment that you realized that you really had to do this work, that you were kind of called to do this work. So I guess, Kim, I'll start with you.
Yeah. So my mom always had told the story that when I was 4 years old, she had walked by my room and I had Barbies lined up on the couch and I was asking them how they felt. So I'm pretty sure I was called to do this while other kids had like the dream houses in the cars. I was curious how my Barbies were feeling. So I think from a very early age on, just trying to understand people's emotions and help them sort of psychologically and behaviorally, just was my path. So went on to graduate school, got my doctorate, and just throughout the residencies, whether it's hospitals or school settings, the questions that we always would ask is, how was your sleep? And so the answer to that question was usually poor. They either, had a hard time falling asleep at night, waking up in the middle of the night, hard time shutting their brain off. And it just became a repeat pattern. So I had seen this Desmond Tutu quote one time that said, as opposed to pulling people out of the river, why don't we figure out why they're falling in the first place? And to me, that was my aha moment of the people that we're seeing with anxiety and health issues and depression and you sort of that emotional, like you had said, Pat, which that's that sort of, response that we're seeing that sleep really is why people are falling in the first place. And so I really started to focus on sleep and get more training in sleep, not only for the individuals I see as my clients, but also seeing the cost for businesses and organizations. So, we see 7.2 hours of productivity lost a week for every poor sleeper, 85% higher insurance rates because of diabetes and high blood pressure and all those things, and higher turnover rates. And so just my own passion for helping people and then seeing as a business owner as well, how it affects businesses, just really sort of made this my life's passion.
Well, thanks for sharing that. ML, did you want to jump in then?
Yeah, I would love to jump in. And ironically, Barbara, my journey started, I was adopted at birth by a Sicilian mother. So there is no calm or serene anything in my life. And about 15 years ago, my husband and I have two daughters. About 15 years ago, my husband said to me in the kitchen, "Do you hear the way you're snapping at me and the girls?" And I thought, oh, well, at first my defense mechanism said, "No, I'm not." And I'm sure you can all relate to that. And then I did something that was brave. I said, "I don't think I am, but I want you to stop me and tell me every time I do it." And guess what? He was right. Fast forward 5 years, I had my own first panic attack in bed one night. The stress of working and raising kids and taking care of sick parents and two friends diagnosed with cancer, I couldn't breathe. So at that moment in time, I remember thinking, gosh, I wish I would give any amount of money if someone could teach me something to calm myself, to calm the voices in my head, and to get a good night's sleep. And fast forward, here we are. I think bringing this work into my corporate world after I got certified, one of our head litigation attorneys grabbed me by the shoulders and shook me after doing it for 2 months. And these were his words, not mine. "God damn it, ML, this shit really works." And I think that was my aha moment of, oh my gosh, everybody needs this. And so now the feedback from clients, number one and number two pieces of feedback are, I got the best night's sleep that I've had in years, and my blood pressure is under control. We're going to talk about a few other benefits today, but those are some of my aha moments where I realized, okay, it worked for me. I'm just going to help you reconnect with yourself and you're going to feel so much better. So I'm grateful to be here today.
I think that's speaks to so many of us. And I think about, something we truly believe in at STRAT is our health is our wealth. So, Kimberly, maybe you kick us off with, I know you've got this concept of sleep balloon explanation. Why don't we start there, maybe?
Yeah. So one of the things is, and I'm sure in this, forum, we have individuals who are morning larks and individuals who are night owls. And what we found sort of over time is that people tend to focus on the fourth quarter of sleep. So we talk about it as if it's a game. So if you're not thinking about sleep until the fourth quarter, such as bedtime and your mattresses and cooling sheets and, melatonin and all those sort of things, you've missed out and you will not win at the game of sleep. Because how you win at the game of sleep is in the first three quarters of the game. You need to play the fourth quarter, which is have a nighttime ritual and look at your environment. But if we're not playing those first three quarters, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what that nighttime routine looks like. So I'm a super visual person and I'm Italian, so I use my hands. And so in explaining it, we explain it as if it's a sleep balloon. So we don't get into the chemicals because it bores the bejesus out of everybody. But basically, all you're doing during the day is you are filling what we call a sleep balloon. And you're filling it as big and taut as possible. And what you're filling it with basically are sleep chemicals. Those sleep chemicals you're using at night to help you fall asleep and stay asleep. So you literally every day get a sleep balloon, you fill it, and then you use it at night. And so that becomes the focus, is how do we start from the moment we wake up filling this sleep balloon? Because that's where it's at. That's where sleep is at, is in those first three quarters. So the question becomes, okay, well, if we're supposed to fill the sleep balloon, how do we do it, right? How do we even start filling it? And the key is your senses. And what ML will talk about later is absolutely a part of this. We can absolutely include breathwork into filling this sleep balloon. But think about your senses. So I had a kid teaching this because I could never remember. It's what you hear, what you see, what you smell, what you taste, and what you touch. Those are your five senses. If you focus on those, you will start filling that sleep balloon unbeknownst to you. So things like sunlight is key. So if you remember nothing else, remember the importance of sunlight. There's a part deep in our brain that the entire purpose of it, well, not the entire purpose, but the majority of the purpose is to sense sunlight. So before there was alarm clocks, before there was phones, we had to know to wake up and we had to know to go to sleep. And so as animals, that's what we do. And we're meant to do that. But we mess it up, right? We mess it up with our alarm clocks. We mess it up with lights that we have now. And so going back to the basics and saying, okay, if I want this sleep balloon to start building, I have to capture early morning sun. Now, I'm from Chicago, right? So half the time, I'm pretty sure there's a sun. I don't see it, but I've heard it's out there, right? I don't have to go out, right? I can just also stand by a window. You can integrate this stuff into your day and not add any extra, work or anything into it. So when I'm driving to bus line, for example, I have my sunroof open because I know that just driving with that sunroof helps me get sunlight, which then will help me sleep at night because it's growing that sleep balloon. When I'm doing meetings and I do a lot of consulting, I do a lot of keynotes, I do a lot of speeches, it's not an option for me to go outside and get maybe an hour in of movement, but I know that I can move around more. I can stand up possibly during meetings. I can, touch my toes. I can do anything that's a movement, right? I can also, you'll always find me with, that sense of smell. I always have some sort of smelly candle with me. I have a lotion with me because I can be doing this conversation right now while putting on a lotion, which is my sense of touch and my sense of smell, and I'm building my sleep balloon. You can be doing that in the office during one of your meetings, have mints on a table in a conference room. So if you are aware that everything that you're doing, adding a cinnamon stick to your tea, adding a slice of lemon to your water, all of this is building the senses. And when you do that, that's the key to sleeping at night. The problem is that we get in our way. Right. So we think about, okay, if we have to build the sleep balloon during the day, why do so many of us struggle sleeping? Well, we do things that are absolutely killing our sleep on the other end. So now that you guys are my sleep balloon experts, you know what builds it. What people love to do is say, I didn't get a good night's sleep last night, so I'm going to go to bed earlier tonight. Now, in theory, That sounds like a good idea if you don't understand sleep. The problem to that becomes this idea of I'm not feeling my sleep well enough. Or if I'm staying in my bed longer in the morning, I'm not feeling any of my senses. So I'm compensating for last night's poor sleep and that sleep balloon by compromising today's. And that's what I don't want anybody who's hearing this to do. Every day you wake up, you have a fresh sleep balloon, basically. And your job is to fill it with as much sensory stimulation as possible and breath work and anything that fills it and integrate it into your day. Again, when I wake up my kids, I have 14-year-old twins. I let this stuff do its work for me. I open the blinds before I even speak to them because I know that I'm going to get a little bit of attitude or like the vampire cover pullover, right? I know that, I start my coffee. Why? Because the smell, right? So even things like this can help wake you up and help wake other people up. So don't compromise that sleep balloon into tonight's sleep because of last night's sleep. The other thing that affects people a lot that we hear is the idea of our brain not shutting off. So I don't know how many of you in this room, and I am super to blame for this, but right, I will get in bed and I'm like, now it's a great time to think about all life's problems, right? And I'm going to solve every issue and I'm going to solve it right now at 10:30, 11 at night, right? And my brain's like, oh, okay, cool. This is what we're doing. And so many of us do it, right? And so what we have to really understand is that it's your brain. So what I want you all to do right now is I don't want anybody in here to picture a cow. So nobody picture a cow. And I want you picturing it black and white spots or picturing its little nose, big nose crunching or chewing on grass. I don't want you picturing its tail wagging in a field of green. And my guess is almost all of you have pictured a cow. And that's because telling our brains at night what's not to think about does not work. Our brain doesn't work in terms of I'm going to tell you something and you don't think about it. You bring it up and it starts thinking about it. So what I'd rather have you do at night is really look at those thoughts and say, okay, if I'm in control of it, then what do I want to think about? Well, we don't think about that. We feel helpless that our brain sort of has its own mind and you do have control. So one of the things you can do is something called cognitive distraction, which basically means tell it what you want it to think about. So for myself, I love a beach, I love warmth. So if I'm going to create a story at night, I'm going to do that. And I might be turning on some brown noise or some green noise. If you don't know about those noises, check those out. Doing some breath work in bed to sort of help calm my nervous system, right? To help me sort of start thinking clearer. I'm going to create a scene in bed that's touching on all my senses. So if I just say to myself, I'm at a beach and it's beautiful, about 4.3 seconds before a thought I don't want comes in. So instead, what does the sand feel like under my toes? Am I drinking something, right? I'd probably be drinking like a pina colada. Am I drinking something? If I'm drinking pina colada, do I feel the pineapple? Do I feel sort of the little pineapple spikes on the side of it, right? What do I hear? What am I tasting? So I'm creating the story in my brain that I want it to do and that I want it to think about. One of the other things that we do that's super helpful is it's called cognitive shuffling. Basically what that means is bore the bejesus out of your brain. Your brain at night loves to like make as many connections as possible. Like, oh, that's related to the time when I was 2 or 5 or 8, or like, oh my gosh, this has meaning. And what we want to do is we want to bore it so that literally you would rather go to sleep than do the task we're asking it to do. So start with a word. So if you use, let's say the word bedtime, it starts with the letter B. Think of every word that has the letter B in it. So balloon, ballet, anything. Then you go to E, and you think, okay, elephant, eraser. At some point, as you go through this, your brain is like, this is so boring. Can we please be done? Or I'm just going to go to bed, right? So that is what kind of shuffling does. It literally will bore your brain to sleep. And the last one, before sort of Mel gives us some of these techniques that I want you incorporating into these. So as you're doing these, that's where the breath work comes in super handy as well, is during the day to fill that sleep balloon, but also when we're trying to control our thoughts at night is to use the breath work Mel's going to talk about. But the other one that I want to bring up is about 2 hours before bedtime, do something called constructive worry. Basically what that means is it's like pre-worrying, like pre-gaming, but way less fun, right? So come up with something that you may be thinking about at night and just come up with the next 3 steps, right? You're not solving the problem. But 2 hours before bed, you're just going to write down, I have a lot to do tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to get it done. Great. Now that night, I can't solve the problem and do it all. But what are my next 3 steps? Well, you know what? I think I'm going to have my kids, take the bus instead of pick them up because that'll buy me time. I think I have to delegate this task to somebody at work because I won't have time. And I think at the end of the day, I'm just going to order in because I think cooking would stress me out. And that way, when those thoughts come up at night, I can tell it like, hey, I've already thought about this, which is the goal to sort of closing your brain down and letting it fall asleep. So ML, I'm going to hand it over to you, but I want you to keep in mind as you're thinking about building the sleep balloon, and hey, if it's daytime here right now and you got wherever you are and you got your blinds closed, I want those blinds open as we're speaking. I want you by a window as you can hear us. And then ML, if you can sort of breathe some life into it, if you will, in terms of how sort of that then adds into this.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I think the biggest thing I learned when I became a certified breath coach is that, oh my gosh, our breath is connected to every other system in our body. And it really is your superpower. Nobody just taught you that it was. There's good news here. You were all born perfect breathers, anatomically congruent. Everything was working together. And then we get off track. The science shows that after the age of 6 years old, we start to develop dysfunctional breathing patterns that affect our physical health and our mental health. So the good news is, again, your body wants nothing more than for you to breathe properly. We're going to do that today. But I want to highlight the 4 most common dysfunctional breathing patterns. I want you to all become so aware of how you're breathing throughout the day while you're building your balloon. But you need to know which dysfunctional breathing pattern you have. And 90% of you have one. So wherever you're sitting right now, we're going to do a 2-second quiz here. I want you to sit up straight, shoulders back, spine straight. And as if you were at the doctor's office and they took a stethoscope and put it on the front or the back of your lungs and said, I want to listen to your lungs. We're going to take 2 deep breaths together. And then we'll talk about dysfunctional breathing patterns. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Give me a big inhale. Big exhale. Good. One more. Big inhale. Big exhale. Perfect. Okay. Did some of you feel yourself or maybe see someone else on the Zoom do something like this? Big inhale. Big exhale. So there's a little bit of a rise in the shoulders and chest and then coming down. That's called vertical breathing. And that is the number 1 dysfunctional breathing pattern that we do. And a lot of it is because we do this all day, right? We sit in chairs. We used to send our kids to school at age 6. Now we're sending them to school at age 3. When we sit all day and you add in gravity and you add in stress and you add in trying to protect your muscular corset as women, nobody's going to get in here. It's really hard to take a proper breath. So we start to use auxiliary muscles, shoulder and neck muscles, to try and help us breathe. That's not how we should breathe. Some of you may have done something like this. When I work one-on-one with you, I put a tape measure around the biggest part of your lungs. And on the inhale, many of you would suck in and make your waist smaller. And on the exhale, you would relax. That's called paradoxical breathing. You're breathing exactly the opposite of how your body was designed to breathe. Some of you may not have done anything on that breath. And that was me. For about 25 years, I was a breath holder in my corporate life, in my personal life. My colleagues would say, ML, why do you sigh so much? Do you hear yourself sighing all the time? Boy, you sigh all the time. Yeah, my body was trying to tell me to breathe. I wasn't breathing. And it led to a lot of physical and emotional issues. And the last dysfunctional breathing pattern is an overbreather. That is only about 7 or 8% of you, and you're breathing mostly through your mouth, and you're taking too many breaths per minute. Okay. So those are the 4 most common. Now we're going to talk about what is a proper breath. Well, you all have heard this term, diaphragmatic breathing, belly breathing. I had heard it for years, right? What is it? In fact, where is your diaphragm? Do you know where your diaphragm is? No. So here comes the mini anatomy lesson. We all have 2 sets of ribs in our torso. When you poke that lowest rib, it's your floater. About 1 inch above the floater is where your diaphragm muscle, your largest inhale muscle, attaches on the interior of your rib cage, curves around, it's a dome-shaped muscle, and attaches on the other side. And for every single breath we take, that muscle on the inhale flattens and lowers 2 to 3 inches in our rib cage. And on the exhale, it contracts back up. So there should be a constant lowering and contracting of your diaphragm on every single breath you take. Wasn't happening for me. Okay, so now this is gonna make sense to you. When that diaphragm lowers, it's opening up our rib cage a little bit so that you and I can get more oxygen into the biggest part of our lungs, which is 360 degrees around here, not up here. Think of the traffic cone. Most of you are only ever breathing into the top 20% of your lungs, and you're missing the richness of breathing down here. So I'll demonstrate a proper breath. It should look like my belly gets bigger on the inhale. Here we go. Inhale. Exhale. So expansion on the inhale. Contraction on the exhale. That's happening on my sides. And if I got down in child's pose, you would see the back of my lungs expanding. Now notice this was staying perfectly still, right? There was no rocking and rolling of the shoulders. Everything was happening down here. And again, this is the way you were born to breathe. So be kind to yourself. We're going to try 5 breaths together. Okay, so again, sit up straight. Try to relax your cheekbones, your jawbones, your neck. Put one hand just above your belly button. And we're going to do 5 breaths together. We're going to inhale through our nose gently, as if you were smelling a flower. And then on the exhale, I want you to exhale through your mouth as if you were blowing out a candle about 4 inches away. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Gentle inhale through the nose. Open mouth, exhale. Good. Gentle inhale through the nose. Long, slow exhale through the mouth. Another inhale through the nose. Long, slow exhale through the mouth. Get heavy in your chair. One more. Gentle inhale through the nose. Long, slow exhale through the mouth. Good. Good, good, good. Now, how did that feel? It may have felt odd for most of you, okay? That's probably not how you're breathing during the day, and that's okay, right? Here's what's happening. This is the one thing I hope none of you forget. When you breathe like that, how we were just breathing, your vagus nerve, which starts at the base of your brain and runs down to your sit bones, acts as a neurotransmitter, and it pays attention. And when you're breathing properly, it communicates with the brain, okay, we're in rest and digest. And the brain communicates with your adrenal glands, and your adrenals don't release any cortisol, histamine, or adrenaline. But guess what? Most of us are keeping ourselves in some mild form of fight or flight for days and weeks and months and years. And you've all heard it, right? 90% of why we go to the doctor, because we're not sleeping, because our blood pressure is high, because our digestion is screwed up, is because of inflammation. Inflammation is directly correlated to cortisol. When you flip the script and say, oh gosh, I'm worrying about that, I'm thinking about that, oh, I'm so angry about what I just saw on TV, I want you to picture your adrenals just spewing cortisol, right? Your kid hasn't finished his homework, you walked past the TV, you catch the red light and you're mad, all you're doing is hurting yourself, right? Your body is just spewing cortisol and you are in fight or flight. So it's as simple as just taking a break and going, wait, hold on. I'm going to flip the script. Take 3 proper, slow, diaphragmatic breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth, and you will move from sympathetic to parasympathetic in your nervous system. And you will start to feel calm and focused, okay? You're not going to get it right every time. That's okay. I love Dr. Kim's point. Begin again, right? Begin again, begin again, begin again, okay? But you are going to feel the difference. The thing about this breath work is it's cumulative. I don't need you to do a 40-minute breath work class every day. Your goal is 10 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be all at once. And at the end of the night, your body's going to go, woohoo! For 8 minutes today, you put me in rest and digest, and I haven't been in parasympathetic mode in 22 years. And you're going to sleep a little better. Now add 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 months. You are going to feel the difference in your body and how you sleep at night. Okay. I have one more exercise I want to teach you. And then we can move on. And this pertains to waking up at night. So you've all heard of counting breathing patterns. And the typical is a box count, 3, 3, 3, 3, or 4, 4, 4, 4. And the pattern is you inhale for 3, you hold your breath for 3, you exhale for 3, you hold for 3. So when you wake up in the middle of the night, and I know Kim's going to share some more tips with us. If you wake up in the middle of the night, try a box count breathing pattern. The combination, and I want you engaging your diaphragm. So the combination of your mind counting, inhale, hold, exhale, hold, and the diaphragmatic breathing is going to help you fall asleep faster. You know, if we all try, as Kim said, 4th quarter, you know, your nervous system is on red alert all day, and you just decide, well, now it's time to go to bed. Good luck with that, right? We've tried, that doesn't work. Okay. So during the day, and my comment is 2 minutes. You're laying flat, 2 minutes in bed. Before you start your day, I want you to take 20 diaphragmatic breaths, if you can. 10 is fine too, right? Start your day calm and focused. Get out of bed, go downstairs. Here, you know, fit it in. Fit 30 seconds in before your next Zoom meeting. Put your favorite song on for 1 minute and just breathe for 1 minute, maybe before you walk back into the house after a long day at work, right? But the key is 2 minutes before you try to fall asleep. Shift your body on purpose into that rest and digest mode, and you will fall asleep easier. You'll stay asleep longer. But if you happen to wake up, tap into a box count breath. Okay. So let's try the box count breath right now. And we're going to do 4, 4, 4, 4. We're going to inhale through our nose for 4, hold our breath for 4, exhale through your lips for 4, hold for 4. We're just going to do that 5 times. So I want you to really feel this in your body. Feel the air coming through your nose. Feel the air leaving your mouth. I'm going to count for us. So again, just sit up straight. If you want to close your eyes, whatever makes you feel comfortable. But let's try 5 of the 4, 4, 4 box count. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Well done. Okay. I'm going to turn things back over to Dr. Kim. We've got a few more back and forths with some more information, but hopefully you can, in that short little exercise, you could just feel the calm coming over your body.
Oh gosh, I love that. I feel like I need somebody to hold my shoulders down. I know that when you and I first talked, we did it like I was the bring the shoulders up. So yes, that I love all that. And again, I hope you guys can see how they just pair so wonderful together. It's very hard to sleep anxious, right? So when we talk about sort of that idea of breathing and that parasympathetic and sympathetic, you're lowering anxiety, and we can't sleep when we're anxious. So all of that, and just even into your day, I love that you say, 2 to 3 minutes, of breathing, that we're not saying do 30 to 45. I mean, you can, but a lot of us don't have the time to do that. And so it's really about sort of throughout your day, breathing and building that sleep balloon. When you say get up that way, that's exactly, get up, do this breathing by a window, right? Even when you're breathing, if you have something that you can smell close by, and have some of that handy. So it's also stimulating that sense of smell. So they go so hand in hand with each other, and it's so helpful. And even at night, just sort of to distract yourself with breath work and breathing just helps lower anxiety and helps take your brain off of things. And one of the things, Emily, you said too, is we talk about sort of the nighttime routines and the nighttime rituals that we can add breath work in. And one of the things I ask people is, that fourth quarter is important. You won't win at sleep if you're not focusing on sleep balloon. The sleep balloon is where the magic happens, basically. Yet you still have to play the fourth quarter, but you still want some element of a routine. So what I always say to people is if somebody were to come into your house an hour before bedtime, would they even know people are getting ready to sleep in that house? Mm-hmm. And usually the answer is no, right? The lights are on, the TV's on, the computers are up, people are scrolling, we're doing dishes. And you compare that to when we're putting our kids to bed. If somebody were to walk in an hour before kids' bedtime, oh my gosh, night and day, right? We got sick with soft, gentle, right? We've had people bathing, right? We've got lavender smells, right? We've got those stars, right? We're reading books that are calming. And for adults, we're typing, we're working, we're cleaning up, and then we lay in bed and we go, I cannot understand why I am wide awake, right? So that nighttime routine is so important. So I really want everybody to look at it and say, okay, what am I doing at nighttime? Is there anything else I can incorporate? And it's not magical. If you've ever seen a child, heard of a child, watched a movie with a child, had your own children, that's what we have to do for ourselves, right? Progressive muscle relaxation, breathing, putting on that brown noise, putting on that pink noise, green noise. Those things are so helpful. Turning down the lights. So nighttime routine matters. Now, when we talk about sort of there's 2 parts, but one of the parts that people don't like me at, that you probably all are going to get mad at, but I'm going to say it anyway, is when we're laying in our bed at night awake. If it's been more than 20 minutes, the key to insomnia is you have to get out of that bed. What has happened is you have paired your bed with somewhere you're awake. So Pavlov's dog, right? Meat dog, dog drool, meat dog, dog drool, we expect it, right? Meat and bell, dog drool, we expect it because there's still meat. When it's just a bell and the dog drools, that is just because we've conditioned those 2 things to happen at the same time. So if you are somebody who lays in that bed for more than 20 minutes, I need you out of that bed. Now, not like a timeout zone, right? But in a comfy place zone. So go and be in a comfy place, use some of your the breathing techniques, right? Use the box breathing. So if you're laying in bed and it's less than 20 minutes, do the breathing. So that nighttime routine is incredibly important. And when we get out of that bed, the focus should be on the word rest and not sleep. When we're so focused on sleep and we play that alarm clock game of, oh my gosh, now it's 9 o'clock, now it's 10 o'clock. Like, okay, so now I only have 8 hours of sleep. Now I'm only have 7. It just makes us more and more anxious. So all we're focusing on is rest. And when you see signs of sleepy, which is not tired, sleepy is a physical sign. My eyes closed, my head nods. When you see that, you go back into that bed. And my last word of caution is anybody who has a sleep tracker, be very, very mindful of it. We're seeing something called orthoinsomnia, now, which is basically a obsessive pursuit of an optimal sleep number. And so we see competitions within people for themselves, within groups, and that is literally creating anxiety over those perfect sleep numbers that is making our sleep worse. So when we're using technology, please, please, please use those trackers for data in terms of, have I got enough water? Am I moving? Those are the things I love about a sleep tracker, the routine, the reminders. But if we're using it for a number, it will increase anxiety and actually make our sleep worse. So I don't know if you had any other strategies for nighttime.
I do. I have a couple of, so I want you all to visualize what's going on inside of your body. I am not making that up. That is science. That is anatomy. I want to tell you about one particular study. There's hundreds every year that I get jazzed about, but there was a study in Beijing, China, a few years ago. They brought a bunch of participants together, tested everybody's cortisol level through blood work, broke the group in half, taught half the group diaphragmatic breathing. Okay. They said practice for the next 6 weeks, 20 minutes a day. We don't care when you do it, 20 minutes a day. Control group did nothing, brought everybody back, retested their cortisol levels. Those that had practiced the diaphragmatic breathing had significantly lower cortisol than the non-breathing group. So this really, really, really works to rid your body of excess cortisol, to rid your body of inflammation. The gravy on the top of that study was those that had practiced the diaphragmatic breathing had increased sustained attention. So for all of you, right? And we are not multitaskers. That's another book and another session for another time. We do one thing at a time and we do it really well. And we are intentionally present and it's going to go so much better. Okay. So there's a lot of science behind this. It works. My tips are multiple times throughout the day, right? You get in the wrong line at the Whole Foods and you get pissed off. When you get pissed off, I want you to visualize your adrenals spewing cortisol. Stop and just say to yourself, I got 6 extra diaphragmatic breaths in while I waited for the line to move forward, right? You know yourself. This breathing, my goal for all of you is, yes, this breathing is going to help you sleep better, but I want you to become aware and conscious of how you're acting and how you're breathing all the time. You're going to be a much more present, calm, delightful, healthy person if you can do that. I would say one of my favorite stories is a couple of years ago, I went to the movies with my daughter. We went to see the second Top Gun movie. We came home. My husband said, "How was the movie?" And my daughter said, "Oh, it was great," till Mom started doing her breathing at the end, the scene that was really stressful, the flight scene. And I looked at her and I said, "What?" She goes, "Oh my God, I wondered what the guy next to you thought you were doing." My body, I've been doing this now for 10 plus years. My body knows when something's stressful, boom, it just goes to a diaphragmatic breath. And my challenge for each of you is after 14 days of doing 10 minutes a day, and we do in through the nose and out through the mouth, because some of you are never exhaling. Those of you with asthma, exercise-induced asthma, feel like you can't take a breath. You're horrible exhalers. So your 10 minutes a day is in through the nose, long, slow through the mouth. The rest of the day, you should be inhaling and exhaling through your nose only. But when you fully clear out the stale CO2 from your lungs, then you can go take another breath and really fill up. So that's just a tip. I have a lot of people that say, "I can't take a breath for 4 counts. I get panicky and I stop after 2. You're not fully exhaling. So my goal is just try it, commit to it. You're going to have all of our contact information, so you can always reach out to me, but it is life-altering, transforming. When you inhale through your nose, this is key. And I wish I could go back 27 years ago. My dad had a stroke in my arms from high blood pressure. And the hospital said, "We'll meet you at the emergency room with a tank of oxygen and a stretcher." So that really was another part of my story. When you and I inhale through our nose, we create more nitric oxide in our bodies, which acts as a vasodilator, which is blood pressure medication. So this breathing alone will help you lower your blood pressure. It opens up all of our blood vessels and arteries wider so that the blood can flow more freely to every cell in our body. So you have so much control over your health. The last thing I want to say is that when this diaphragm muscle comes down on every single breath, that beautiful design of our bodies, it was meant to massage our digestive organs. So for those of you who start this practice, you might realize, I'm sleeping so much better, I'm calmer, and my IBS has kind of tapered off. Yes, because it's all working together and nobody ever told you. So those are my tips.
Well, and I think Emma and I were talking about the idea too, that we want everybody in here to take something from this, right? And what we know, even from a psychology perspective, is that when individuals commit to, I always call it a 1 degree change, right? It doesn't have to be great at all, right? If you think about like your feet and you're walking this way and you think about just literally shifting your feet this way, you will end up in a completely different place just by a 1 degree shift. And it's the same sort of psychologically. So we're going to get to questions and stuff now, but one of the things that we would love you guys to put in the chat, just to psychologically and behaviorally hold yourself accountable to committing to something, some 1 degree change, right? Some of the things that, from a sleep perspective is that 1 degree change going to be focusing on your sleep balloon and really working on during the day, maximizing that? Is it creating that comfy zone because you're somebody who, stays awake in bed and now knows that you have to unfortunately get out of that bed? Are you somebody who your brain won't shut off at night and you're going to work on that constructive worry or the cognitive shuffling or pre-worrying as well? Are you somebody who says, oh my God, a nighttime routine? I haven't seen one of those in 20 years, right? Are you somebody who needs to work there? Or when you're looking and you're saying, hey, I want to incorporate, breath work into my days and in my evenings, I want to, really work on that parasympathetic versus sympathetic calming. So just if everybody could just put in the chat something that they want to sort of hold themselves accountable to. And then Emma and I are happy to answer any questions that you guys have. But I would love to see sort of some of your 1 degree changes.
Yeah. And my last really quick note is, this is all of it, ladies, right? We will never be able to control anything that happens on the outside of us. Your teenager, your spouse, or the president of the United States. Never. You will never be able to control that. You always have 100% control over how you respond. And when you tap into the power of your breath as a solid foundation, you're taking that pause, you're putting your body in rest and digest, and I promise you, you will always respond more appropriately and with more calm and confidence than had you been in fight or flight. So go inward, always go inward as a first step.